Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're going to look at something that I think most of us take for granted until it goes absolutely horribly wrong.
What's that?
The simple act of getting from point A to point B.
Transportation. It sounds so mundane, doesn't it?
It does. But we aren't just talking about, the physical act of moving your body through space. We're looking at transportation as a critical component of professional success and honestly just personal sanity.
It's interesting because we often treat travel time as dead time.
Yeah.
It's just the gap between where you are and where you need to be. We endure it.
Right.
But if you look at how high performers operate or how successful organizations manage their logistics, that time is actually a strategic asset.
Exactly. And to explore this, we're diving into a really comprehensive source. It's titled Elite Transportation Solutions for Villa Park and Beyond.
Okay.
And it's basically a detailed breakdown of the operations of a company called Limo Service Villa Park.
And this is a company based in Villa Park, California. What's so valuable about this text is that it gives us a really granular look at what differentiates a standard ride. Think your typical app-based hail from a professional service.
So we have a clear mission for today's deep dive. We want to unpack the specific standards that define luxury in this context. Because, spoiler alert, according to this source, it is not just about having a shiny car.
No, not at all. Not about leather seats.
Not at all. That's the commodity part, right?
It is. It's about trust. It's about logistics.
And it's about the specific needs of the Villa Park community.
Which is a great place to set the scene. The source describes Villa Park in a very specific way. It's not a bustling downtown metropolis.
Yeah.
It's described as a quiet residential area.
It's often called the hidden jewel of Orange County.
Right. It's known for executive homes, large lots, and its proximity to all these business hubs. So you have a population there that really values privacy and likely has high-stakes professional commitments.
They're close to the action: Anaheim, Irvine, LA, but they live just removed from it.
And that geography, it really dictates the kind of service they need.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because the source makes a bold claim right off the bat. It says finding a dependable limo service isn't just about luxury vehicles. It says it's about trust, professionalism, and safety.
That is the core philosophy here. The vehicle is almost secondary. The source argues that the product isn't the car. The product is peace of mind.
I love that distinction, because anyone can lease a nice SUV.
Exactly. But can anyone guarantee the experience? It's about understanding the expectations of the client. If you're an executive living in Villa Park, you're not paying for a seat in a car.
No.
You're paying for the guarantee that you will arrive on time, safely, and without having to think about the logistics. You are paying to offload cognitive load.
And a huge part of that, according to the text, is local knowledge. Now, in the age of Waze and Google Maps, does this actually matter?
The source argues it matters more than ever. Think about the difference between a GPS and a local expert. A GPS sees a roadmap. It sees data.
But a local expert sees the ecosystem.
Exactly.
Give me an example of that.
Okay, so a GPS knows the speed limit. A local expert knows that at 4 p.m. on a Thursday, the school traffic on a specific street in Villa Park creates a bottleneck that the algorithm might lag on.
Oh, okay.
Or they know which gate at a gated community processes guests faster. The source highlights that Limo Service Villa Park uses this local knowledge to ensure punctuality. It's all about minimizing friction.
So it's the difference between a driver who's just following a blue line on a phone and a chauffeur who knows the terrain.
Precisely. And that leads to another key pillar mentioned in the text: discretion.
The source talks about black car service. I feel like this term gets thrown around a lot.
It does. And for anyone not familiar with the industry terms, black car service is distinct from the, stereotypical stretch limo party vibe. The text describes it as refined and understated.
So if you're an executive, you don't necessarily want to roll up to a merger meeting in a 40-foot vehicle with neon lights and a fog machine.
Exactly. That sends the wrong message. The source notes that this service is used by executives who need privacy rather than flashiness. It's designed for executive travel and private transportation.
It blends in.
It blends in. It signals a certain level of professionalism. I take this seriously, without shouting for attention.
That brings us to probably the biggest use case mentioned in the text: the airport.
The great equalizer of stress.
Seriously. The source leans heavily into the stress-free angle here. It details how airport transport eliminates driving, parking, and my personal nemesis navigating the terminals.
And for Villa Park residents, the text lists specific coverage for all the major Southern California hubs. We're talking John Wayne Airport, LAX.
Los Angeles International.
Right. Long Beach Airport and Ontario International Airport.
That is a wide net. And let's be honest, getting to LAX from Villa Park is not a simple task.
It's a gauntlet. I mean, depending on the time of day, that could be a 40-minute drive or a 2-hour ordeal.
Here's where it gets really interesting for me. The source mentions a specific operational detail about airports. The chauffeurs don't just sit there waiting for you. They actively monitor flight schedules and traffic conditions.
That is a critical differentiator.
Yeah.
We've all had that anxiety. My flight is delayed 3 hours. Is my ride going to leave?
Oh, yeah. Or I'm landing 40 minutes early because of a tailwind. Am I going to be stranded on the curb?
Total nightmare scenario.
Yeah.
You land, you're tired, and then you have to manage the logistics of finding your ride.
Right.
By monitoring the flight schedules, the service removes that variable. It's an active process. The source explicitly says this attention to detail helps clients avoid missed flights or unnecessary waiting. They are synchronizing their schedule with your reality.
It also mentions the physical aspect. Professional assistance with luggage.
Which sounds minor until you have 4 heavy bags and you're trying to get from the baggage claim to, like, a parking structure or a rideshare pickup point that's a mile away.
Or until you've just come off a 12-hour international flight. You're dehydrated, jet-lagged, your brain is foggy.
Exactly. The source promises a quiet, comfortable ride. It's about extending the comfort of the home or office all the way to the terminal door. It preserves your energy for what actually matters.
Speaking of offices, let's pivot to the corporate side of things. The source has a whole section on corporate and executive transportation services.
This is where the car becomes a mobile office.
The text describes the vehicle as a quiet environment where passengers can work or relax.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture of productivity, that travel time becomes billable hours, or at least prep time. If you're driving yourself, your brain is occupied with the road, the traffic.
The aggressive driver in the next lane. You arrive frazzled.
Right. But if you're being driven in a quiet executive SUV, you can be reviewing notes for that meeting. You can be making calls. The source highlights punctuality and image as critical factors here.
Image is an interesting one. The text mentions use cases like executive meetings, conferences, and transporting clients.
Well, that's a big one. Transporting clients.
Walk me through that.
If you're a business in Villa Park and you have a high-value client flying in, sending a professional chauffeur to pick them up sends a very specific message about your company.
What's the message?
It says, we value you and we value quality.
It sets the tone before they even walk in the door.
Exactly. Right. Compare that to telling a client, just grab a cab and save the receipt. One is a transaction, the other is hospitality.
And the source mentions that for businesses, there's a logistical back end to this. They offer corporate accounts.
So you don't have to whip out the credit card every single time.
Right. It allows for reliable scheduling and consistency.
It makes sense. If you have repeat needs, you want a streamlined process. You want the service to know your preferences, temperature, route, maybe even the radio station, without having to re-explain them every single trip.
So it effectively integrates the limo service into the company's own operations.
That's a good way to put it.
So we have the business side. But the source also spends a good amount of time on the personal side, special events.
Which requires a totally different skill set. Corporate travel is about efficiency. Special events are about experience and timing.
Let's talk weddings. The source details wedding transportation, covering ceremonies, receptions, bridal parties.
What stands out here is the emphasis on careful coordination. A wedding has so many moving parts. You have the bridal party, the family, the guests. The text notes that chauffeurs work closely with clients to keep the day stress-free.
You do not want the bride worrying about whether the groomsmen are going to show up on time because their Uber got lost.
No, that is a recipe for disaster. A chauffeur in this context is almost part of the event planning team. They're managing the logistics of people movement.
But there's another event type where the stress is more about safety. Proms?
Yes. The source specifically mentions parents and students for proms.
As a parent, this resonates. But it's interesting how they frame it.
It is. The source doesn't sell the party aspect of the limo for proms. It doesn't talk about the sound system or the lights.
No.
It sells safety and responsible service.
That is the primary selling point to the buyer, who is usually the parent.
Exactly. It says parents trust Limo Service Villa Park because the chauffeurs are experienced and the schedules are carefully planned. It's selling peace of mind to the parents.
Knowing their kids are being transported by a vetted professional rather than driving themselves or riding with friends who might be distracted.
It's risk mitigation. That is a very smart distinction. And then, of course, they mention entertainment, concerts, and sporting events.
Avoiding the parking lot.
Worrying about traffic or parking, as the text puts it. If you have ever tried to leave a major stadium in Southern California like SoFi or Angel Stadium after a game, you know that can take an hour just to exit the lot.
It ruins the whole night. You go from the high of the win to the low of the gridlock.
It does. Having a driver waiting means you just get in and go. It preserves the experience. You are paying to bypass the friction.
So we've covered the airports, the meetings, the weddings. But I want to get into the how, the mechanics of reliability, because the source makes a big deal about the human element.
With chauffeurs?
Yeah. What makes a driver a chauffeur, according to this text? Because in the gig economy, that line has blurred a bit.
The source tries to draw a hard line. It lists specific criteria. First, obviously, they're licensed and insured. But beyond that, they look for a driving experience and professional conduct.
It also mentions a commitment to customer service.
Which is key. A driver drives. A chauffeur serves. It's about anticipating needs. The source implies that these are professionals who view this as a career, not a gig.
They know when to engage in conversation and when to just be invisible.
Yes. And then you have the hardware, the fleet.
The tools of the trade. The source lists luxury sedans, executive SUVs, and black cars.
But again, it's not just having the car, it's the condition of the car.
Well maintained, that's the phrase they use.
Regular inspections and cleaning before every single pickup. The text says each vehicle is prepared before pickup.
That's a big deal. That means you're never getting into a car with someone else's coffee cup in the holder or crumbs on the seat.
It breaks the illusion of professionalism immediately if the car is dirty. Here, the standard is a clean, reliable ride every time. You shouldn't have to wonder what condition the car will be in.
And availability.
24 hours.
Yeah.
The source is very clear on this. 24-hour limo service in Villa Park.
And they explain why. It's not just because they want to stay up late. It's for early morning flights and last-minute requests.
Business doesn't stop at 5 p.m.
And neither do flight schedules. If you have a 6 a.m. flight out of LAX, you need a pickup at 3:30 or 4 a.m. You need a service that operates on that clock.
The source highlights this flexibility. As a reason, they're a trusted choice. If you land at 2 in the morning, you need to know the car is there.
So how does one actually access this? We should talk about the user experience, the booking, and the trust.
The source emphasizes a simple and transparent booking process.
Transparency is a big word there.
It is. The text mentions clear communication regarding pickup times and expectations. Once a reservation is confirmed, you know exactly what's happening.
No guessing games. No, is he 5 minutes away or 15 minutes away?
And that transparency, it feeds into the ultimate goal mentioned in the conclusion of the source, building long-term relationships.
This stood out to me. They aren't just looking for one-off rides.
No. The text argues that consistency builds trust. By delivering dependable service every time, they get repeat clients and referrals in the Villa Park area. They want to be the default option for that community.
It goes back to that local aspect. If you screw up a ride for a neighbor in a place like Villa Park, word gets around.
Precisely. In a tight-knit community like that, reputation is everything. You can't just burn a customer and move on to the next anonymous user. The source frames this as a partnership.
So what does this all mean? If we step back and look at the whole source, elite transportation solutions for Villa Park and beyond, what is the big takeaway?
I think the synthesis here is that professional transportation, as they describe it, is less about luxury for luxury's sake. It is not about gold-plated door handles or champagne in the back.
Right. It's much more practical than that.
It is about reliability. It's about safety. And it's about the efficient management of time. Whether you're a CEO prepping for a meeting or a bride trying to get to the church, the value proposition is that they handle the burden of movement so you can focus on the destination.
It effectively buys you capacity, mental capacity and time.
Exactly. It turns a chore into a service.
Well, this has been a fascinating look under the hood, pun intended, of a local service industry that's still doing things, well, the old school way.
It really has.
Before we go, though, I want to leave our listener with something to think about.
Here is a provocative thought to mull over based on this text. We live in a world of on-demand apps. You can summon a stranger with a car to your doorstep in 3 minutes with your phone. And it's miraculous in its own way.
Oh, for sure. It changed the world.
But this source suggests that the true premium service today isn't speed of access. It's local knowledge and the human element of a vetted professional.
Interesting.
So it prompts the question, how much is trust worth in your logistics? When the stakes are truly high, a flight you can't miss, a client you need to impress, a child going to prom, is the algorithm enough?
Or do you need the human who knows that the side street is faster and treats your schedule as their own? That is a great question. Is the premium the car, or is the premium the certainty?
I think we know where Limo Service Villa Park stands on that.
I think we do. Thank you for helping us unpack this today.
My pleasure.
And to you, the listener, next time you are planning a trip, think about not just where you're going, but how you're getting there. We will see you on the next deep dive.
Safe travels.